Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Live Penguin TV. My name's Sky. I'm going to be your host for the evening, and I'm joined by Tom. Jump on in, Tom.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to everyone that's been with us the last few nights, and an even bigger welcome to all the newbies. I'll be keeping an eye on the questions on YouTube tonight, so make them interesting, and we'll pick a few out, and we'll try and answer them for you tonight. Thank you.
Yep, so whether you're coming to us through YouTube or Facebook, do make sure you get those questions in the comments. And for those of you watching on Facebook, we've got a team of rangers who are going to do their best to get an answer to you within the next 24 hours. So we may not be able to get to your questions here live on Penguin TV, but we will do our best to get those answers to you if you write on Facebook. YouTube, unfortunately, we don't quite have the tech capabilities at the moment to go back and answer your questions. So if you really want an answer within the next 24 hours, get that question into us on Facebook. So thank you so much for tuning in again tonight, or for the first time, as Tom said. We are Phillip Island Nature Parks, and we're coming to you live from Phillip Island, which is in Victoria in Australia. And Phillip Island is also known as Malawi by the Bunurong people, who are the traditional custodians of Malawi, of Phillip Island here. So we want to acknowledge the Bunurong as the traditional custodians and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Now, we are right in the middle of breeding season, everybody, and last night we had a whopping 1,701 penguins cross the beach last night. So for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, you might be wondering, what does that mean? Well, the penguins, the reason that we're all here is to watch the penguins arrive. They've been out in the water for a day, a week, a month, who knows how long, and they are now at this time of night when the sun is setting or has set. Once it is dark, they make this dangerous dash across the beach. So right now there should be a whole lot of penguins in the bay out here, forming into groups because they tend to hunt in a solitary nature during the day because their food is in the sea. It's their supermarket. They like to eat anchovies and pilchards and squid and sea jellies and all sorts of things like that. So it's hard to see at the moment, but yep, there will be penguins out there somewhere, and they're calling to each other and they're getting ready because they want to come in a group because there's safety in numbers. So they're making what we call a hucking noise, which sounds a bit like this. And it's one of many noises that these penguins make. They make all sorts of different noises, but that's the one that they make when it's time to come in, when they're getting into their groups. And pretty soon, within the next 10 minutes, we hope, we're going to see some penguins just arriving probably around these rocks in big groups in these, we call them rafts when they're out in the water, and then waddles once they make it onto land. So we're going to be seeing these rafts arrive just on the edge of the water here, and we're going to probably see them stumble over these rocks a little bit. And then we're going to watch them cross the beach here, and they'll probably relax on the rocks here. Now, I've just heard that we might have some on east. Okay, so we have got some penguins on the water's edge already, but not right here. Let's just double check that. Can you see any white bellies? You've got to look for their white bellies showing up. Oh, yeah, actually we do. They've just arrived. Let's zoom in. Can you see this little group? And it is a very little group of penguins. So these are the little penguins. That is their name. And they are the smallest penguins of the 18 species that we've got in the world. So the littlest penguins. And there we go. We've got a little group. See if you can count this little group. But it is such a small group, they may not be keen to make the dash just yet. They might be waiting for their buddies to turn up. So while we watch these guys, I'll just tell you a little bit about us. We are Phillip Island Nature Parks. We are a not-for-profit conservation organisation, and we look after the penguin colony that we've got here of 32,000 penguins. We look after the Southside beaches. We look after koala conservation. We do all sorts of stuff like that. So if you want to support the work that we do, you can head to the description. You should see a link to the Penguin Foundation, and you can adopt a penguin, or you can become a penguin pal. You can support the important conservation work we do, but their penguins are walking. Here we go. So they are gutsy penguins. Oh, and they're really running now. So they've wasted no time tonight even though it is quite a small group compared to the groups we've seen starting off the last few nights, I guess because the tide is quite high, they've had the courage to make that dash. So have a count, see if you can see how many there are. Tonight we've got Ebony is counting the penguins, and hopefully she'll let us know how many there were. So they're hiding behind the bushes at the moment. We should see them appear on the rocks any moment now. Oh, yep, you can just see them. Tom, how many was that? Oh, 40. Apparently that was 40 little penguins. Did you get that? I don't know if I would have guessed that. How amazing. All right. I wonder, oh, there's still some birds. Did you just see the birds fly past everybody? There's still some birds about. So these were some gutsy little penguins to be crossing the beach while there are still birds awake, because the reason I call it this dangerous dash across the beach is because that is a time where we're just getting that clarified. It might have been 1-4.
No, it's 40.
Oh, no, it was 40. Okay, good. So it is a dangerous dash because it's a time where they are a bit worried about getting eaten. There could be birds still awake, and that's why they wait until after sunset, so that those birds might have gone to sleep already, so that they are less likely to be eaten. And the things they're worried about are Pacific gulls and, a little one to the side there, just sneaking in off the side. I see you. Oh, and a wallaby. Have a look. We've just had a wallaby hop across the screen. How fun. This is a neighbour to these little penguins. But yes, I was saying Pacific gulls might eat them, swamp harriers might eat them, even wedge-tailed eagles. So that's why this always happens after sunset. And that's why we started a little bit later tonight than other nights, because sunset keeps getting later and later, so our start has to keep getting later and later as well. So if you join us over the summer months, it ends up being quite a late night activity. But yes, we're looking at a swamp wallaby just hopping across the screen here. So these swamp wallabies live amongst the penguins. They're pretty happy neighbours. They don't tend to interfere with each other too much. The wallabies like to eat grass, so they're not eating the penguins or really disturbing them in any way too seriously. I'm going to zoom out because I want to keep an eye on the water, because that's where, of course, our next penguins are going to be coming. And we have had increasing numbers of penguins each night that I've been here. So I've been doing, this is the 4th night in a row that I've been hosting, and we have seen a steady increase each night to the peak of 1,701 last night. So I'm wanting to make sure, oh yeah, these penguins have all just cleared out. They were in a hurry. Definitely don't want to miss them on the way. But yep, so obviously these penguins were in a hurry. They arrived early. Oh, let's switch cameras. They arrived earlier than the rest, and they have not waited on those rocks. They are hurrying along on their way. They have got a reason to get home, it seems like. And it is the breeding season. So maybe they've got chicks that they need to feed. Maybe they've got eggs that they need to sit on. So that is why they might have arrived a little bit earlier than the rest. It's it's not such a common thing to see groups that small at this time of year, but yet they seemed like they were in a hurry. So let's cast our eyes out to the ocean now, and let's look for these. Oh, is that more, or is that rocks? I think it's just rocks. Cast your eyes out into the ocean. What we're looking for is these rafts of penguins. It's a disturbance in the water because, of course, it's lots of penguins all together with their heads above the ocean. So it looks a bit like a black smudge or a black cloud in the ocean. And then if we spot it and zoom in, you start to see the different penguins darting through. You start to see the splashing as they swim their way in. But tonight's going to be a really tough night to spot these rafts because it's a little bit choppy out there. So you can't really tell if it's just a choppy bit of water or if it is a raft of penguins, although this looks like a raft of penguins. Let's have a little look. Whoa, are you tricking me or not? Could be a raft. Oh, I think it's a raft. Let's have a look. Yes, it is. Fantastic. We've got more penguins on the way here. So as I said, watch out for those white bellies. That's the easiest bit to spot in the dark. Of course, they've got blue feathers on their top. It's hard to tell in this light, but yes, blue. They are the only penguins that have blue and white feathers rather than black and white feathers. So there was a time where they were called the blue penguins, or in some places they were known as the blue penguin. but now we all agree to call them the little penguin. All right, so this is a fair number of penguins this time. This is a significantly bigger group than the one we saw before, or raft or waddle that we saw before, and they are wasting no time making that dangerous dash. Look at them waddle. So some of them have got stuck on the rocks and are having to climb over those pesky rocks, but many of them have just gone round, taken the easy route. Oh, yeah, and there's more joining from the back there as well. Let me zoom out a little bit so we can get a bit more context on this. I'll go again. Oh, gosh. So, yep, send your love to poor Ebony, who's counting these guys tonight. That will be a tough waddle of penguins to count. For poor Ebs. All right, let's have a little look back. We'll wait for them to arrive on those rocks. Yep, you can see, as I said, a few of them have washed up on those rocks and now have to have the tough job of climbing over the rocks. Let's actually have a closer look at that. So you can see a few white bellies just poking up here, and they're going, how annoying. I've got stuck on the side. I've got stuck on the rocks rather than to the side where these other guys have had the easier journey. And that apparently was 230 penguins. We've got a word from Ebony. How fantastic is that? So they're arriving on the rocks here. We've got one heading home. Yeah, we see you. So this one seems like it might have a beachfront mansion. That's a very lucky penguin. Perhaps not walking so far tonight, whereas, yes, some of these will be walking 2 kilometres home tonight. And I think 2 kilometres is really tough for me, and I'm an average-sized woman, whereas these guys are only 33 centimetres tall, so 2 kilometres for them is just huge. Some of them are taking the path home directly underneath this Penguins Plus stand here. And in better days, you could be sitting on this stand and watching the penguins. Front row seats, really. But at the moment, it is, of course, an empty stand, and that is why we are bringing these penguins to you instead. Oh, a bunny is just hopping through there. Could have been a bunny. Yeah, let's see if we can get a closer look, because it's probably a rabbit. Yes, it is a rabbit. I was hoping it was an eastern barred bandicoot, but no, it's just a rabbit. A little bit less exciting than a extinct in the wild bandicoot. That would have been fun. But they are an animal that you can see from time to time here at the Penguin Parade. Not so much in the live streams. We haven't had too much luck with them in the live streams, but certainly when you come back and visit us in person, you've got a really good chance at seeing an eastern barred bandicoot. Now, these penguins have made a very odd decision. They are not sticking to their normal penguin pathway. Oh, let's quickly change cameras because we've got a stack of penguins coming through here. Hello. But no, I was just very interested in those penguins. There's penguin pathways. So they wear out pathways by walking the same path night after night after night. And I wonder if because that rabbit was in the way, they decided to just go through the grass as well. And they're almost getting swallowed up by that grass. So it's an odd decision. It's a not such a usual decision, but yep, I guess if there's something in the way and they want to get home, they're going to find a slightly different way to go. But generally, night after night, they take the exact same pathway home. And one of those pathways is this main penguin highway that we're looking at right now. It is a wide stretch of bare land. We use it for access during the day, and the penguins like to use it in the evening because it's easy. There's not so many hazards. There's not so much grass. They don't have to push their way through. It's an easy way for them to walk on their way to wherever they're going, back to their burrow. And yep, they might be going back to feed chicks. Some of them, if they look really fat and healthy, it's because they've got lots and lots of food in their belly that they might be bringing back to feed their chicks. Because, of course, their chicks aren't waterproof yet, so they can't go for a swim. So the food has to be brought to them. And they bring delicious seafood home to their chicks. Let's head back to this other camera. And now, of course, these guys have moved on. So let's head back to the beach and see if we've got some more rafts coming in. So that's the bit I love. Oh, yes, just in time. Have a look at this. We've got a whole lot of white bellies just washing up on the edge of the water there. Have a look at that. That is another fair raft for our penguin counter Ebony to count tonight. So have a guess. We'll see if she gives us a number for this one. And yet lots of them have washed up in the rocks, so we're seeing a slower climb. Not many of them have had the bright idea to go round. Come on, camera, let's focus in a bit better. Yep, there we go. So these penguins have got very sharp little claws and good little feet that help them make these long journeys and climb over these rocks. They've also got a very low center of gravity, which helps them climb over these rocks and up these steep hillsides. Oh, yep, they're running now. Look at that. That other group on the right-hand side is sort of trying to get across to join them as well, because remember, there's safety in numbers. Oh, gosh, look at this. Look at them waddle. Look at them go. It's a penguin race. There we are. Big numbers at the moment. I wonder if tonight will beat last night, beat 1,701. And if you'd like to know, oh, another wallaby's just hopped by in the front there. If you would like to know how many we get tonight, we count for 50 minutes, 50 minutes, which means that the stream has always ended by the time we get the number. So you have to tune in tomorrow night if you want to know exactly how many penguins we are seeing here tonight. And they're still just swarming across this beach here. Oh, and I'm hearing that this is 300 penguins, so yeah, really big numbers again tonight. Let's watch them waddle across, and as we watch them flee across this beach here, I'm going to get a question from the comments. So Tom, what are people wanting to know?
So Alexandra would like to know, how do penguins know where to land, our little penguins?
Ooh, how do they know where to land? Well, they've got it's really interesting. They have to use all their senses, just like we do, just like how we know the way home from our local shops or our local supermarket. They know the way, and because they do it time and time again. These penguins will usually lay their own eggs within about 50 meters of where they themselves were born. So they're doing these same processes over and over again. So at the moment we think they do a lot. Oh gosh, look at them stumbling over the rocks here. At the moment we think they do a lot with their eyes. They look out for different landmarks, particularly under the water. They'll look for different landmarks to find their way home. They'll look for landmarks on the land, and then as we see, they sort of wash up on the beach exactly in front of the pathway that they want to cross across. Some nights we've seen them a little bit too far one way or the other, and they have to sort of walk across. But no, generally it's a lot of looking and remembering the same ways home, in the same way that we know to turn left at that shop and turn right when you see that bush or tree. Yet they do the same sort of thing. So yeah, cleverer than they look, I would say. Look at them just milling about here. Oh, and yet we're going to have to switch cameras because this is a lot of penguins coming this way. So watch the curious way they waddle. If you want to try waddling at home, you've just got to fuse your knees, because they can't bend their knees. They're fused in one situation. So lock your knees in, and then you'll see you just have to tip from side to side. And it's that rocking motion that kind of propels them forward. So have a go at waddling if you're watching at home. And that's not just for the kids, it's for all of you. Have the courage. Have a waddle. You'll be surprised how good it makes you feel. All right. And we've got one penguin seems to be checking itself out in the reflection of the glass there. Can you see that? So just on the far side of the screen, we've got one who's keenly looking inside our underground burrow. So this is somewhere where you can buy tickets to actually stand on the other side of that glass, and if you could be there right now, that penguin would be looking right at you very curiously. So when we are open, one way you can support us is to buy a ticket and come visit us when it is safe to do so. And yet the underground is a great place to go to get really up close and personal with these penguins. Of course, another way you can support us is by jumping on the Penguin Foundation website. It's in the description. Adopt a penguin. It doesn't mean you get to take one home, unfortunately. And you wouldn't want to. They poo a lot. They're very noisy at night when you're trying to sleep. and they bite you if you try to pick them up. So you wouldn't want to actually adopt them, but you symbolically adopt them, and that money goes towards caring for their habitat and looking after Phillip Island and making sure that it's a safe place for generations and generations of penguins to come. And that penguin is still just checking itself out. It looks like it's actually just lying down on its belly at the moment. You having a sleep? Oh, and we've got a penguin walking the opposite way to the rest. So if you are a regular viewer, you might already know what this penguin is doing and why it's walking the opposite direction to all the other penguins. This is what we call a shell gritter. Let's go back to the other camera though, and let's see what's happening with the rest of the penguins. Yep, some of them are happily preening. I want to see if we can catch another group before it gets too dark, washing up on the beach here. Oh yes, another smaller group coming here now. You might be able to see those white bellies there. But no, it's getting a bit dark, so I'm going to focus on these ones that are right under our lights here, so we can get a good look at these penguins. So yep, if you see a penguin walking the opposite direction, it probably is a soon-to-be mama penguin that has got some eggs in her belly. And she's walking the other way because she's been in her burrow probably for the full day, and she's coming down essentially to sort of get some pregnancy vitamin supplements. She's walking down to the beach to go and nibble on some shells because shells are full of calcium, and she needs extra calcium to supplement the calcium that she's putting into making the outside of the eggs. And that is the last step of the egg development that happens within that mama penguin's belly. So this means the penguins that you see walking the opposite way are probably within a few days of laying an egg, which is pretty exciting. So if you see them going the opposite way, that's what they're doing. What you're seeing at the moment is a whole lot of preening, fixing up their feathers, lots of shaking, lots of rubbing their beaks through their feathers. So have we got another question, Tom?
This is a very interesting one. Can I answer this one?
Yes, okay? Absolutely.
Yeah. So, folks, the question is from Jean. How do our penguins cover their eggs with such short legs? With your larger species, they'll actually stand on their egg, they'll sit on their eggs or stand over their eggs. With our guys, they'll actually lay over the top of them with their belly. And that's why if we see an injured penguin come through and we pick it up at this time of year, they'll actually have a crease on their feathers, on their belly, a vertical crease. And we call that the brood mark. And we know that penguin's got eggs. And we'll usually leave it go and let it go home to feed its chicks. So very good question.
Oh, thanks for that. And keep those questions coming. Remember that we will do our best. Oh, we've got more penguins arriving. Oh, look at this. More penguins arriving, and we will be getting to your questions on Facebook at least over the next 24 hours. So if we can't get to your question here on the live stream, don't you worry. We will do our best to get that. To get back to you. Now, these penguins are really spreading out, so this is going to be really tough work for our penguin counter, Ebony, here. It's much easier when they're in a bulk group going all at the same time. When they spread out like this, it can be hard with the binoculars because she's counting from quite a distance away. So she's doing all of this through binoculars. She hasn't even got the cameras like we've got to help her out. All right. Let's get another question if we can, Tom.
Yeah, this is from Cleo. How do our little penguins feed their young?
Oh, good question, Cleo. Thank you for asking it. It's a bit disgusting, actually. So if you're eating dinner, just pause for a moment because you're not going to like this question. You're not going to like the answer. So they eat the fish out in the water and they bring it back for their babies, but they haven't got hands to give it to. They can't hold on to these fish or whatever the food that they're giving with hands or flippers or anything like that. So they have to hold it in their belly or sort of just within their body. So they carry the fish within their body, and when they arrive back to their penguins, they put their mouth over the mouth of the baby just like that, and they regurgitate, so sort of vomit, the fish guts and all that sort of stuff, the fishy soup, back into the baby. Sorry, not back into the baby, into the baby. And it's actually not so much a fishy soup. We used to think it'd be digested fish, but they actually keep the fish pretty nice and fresh for the babies. So the babies are actually getting some pretty nice fresh fish, which is really interesting. That's some newer research that we've got here at the Penguin Parade. And we, of course, do our own research here at the Penguin Parade. A lot of the information that I'm giving you tonight has actually come from researchers here on Phillip Island, looking into these little penguins, finding out all they can about them, because you can't help an animal or you can't help a species if you don't know what they do and what they need and everything about them. So it's really it's conservation-based research and research-based conservation that we do here. So, keep your questions coming. We love to answer them. But it is about time for us to go. So we're getting great footage of these penguins. I might leave you a little bit longer because we're just seeing mammoth amounts of penguins coming up this penguin highway here. But just before we go, what I will say is make sure if you've got any spare cash, we really do appreciate your donations to the Penguin Foundation. If there's somebody special in your life that you'd like to buy a gift for that needs a bit of cheering up perhaps, or might have a birthday coming up, do consider adopting a penguin for them or becoming a penguin pal. And that really does support the work that we do here on Phillip Island with our little penguins. Now, Tom and I have had an absolute ball of a time with all of you guys for the last few nights. And we are sorry to say that we're going to be heading off for a little while now. It's not going to be us for the next little while, but tomorrow joining you on this live stream, you will have Ranger Stephen and Ranger T. So make sure you tune in to find out how many penguins we've had tonight and to give them some support tomorrow night. Remember, we're going to be doing this every night for the foreseeable future at the moment. So you can keep checking in with us whenever you like. But look, it's been so much fun, everybody. We will see you next time. Do you want to jump in and say bye, Tom?
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a good night. We'll see you later.